Get old.
I found my sister's technology hat the other day. Remember them?
Oh, Sisters Technology. Yeah.
Yeah, weren't they?
Video.
You're making
Well,
stitched photo videos, right?
Yep.
you guys can't see me, or maybe you can, but I posted this before.
Oh, that's
MSN
a good one.
CarPoint. Uh,
I remember that. I forgot about that.
that's
We might have to revisit
1999.
that one, Jason.
CarPoint. That was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
I remember going down to the Dulles area, Virginia, because I'm not too far from there, and meeting with the Yahoo Cars team at around that time.
Who else was there? What do you got? MSN Autos, Stone Age.
That really never turned into anything, though, did it? Maybe it was big there for a while, but
CarPoint.
So long ago. Yeah.
That was Reynolds and Reynolds too. Was there?
I thought CarPoint was MSN. Like you.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got MSN and then Reynolds and MSN. So there's MSN CarPoint and then Reynolds and Reynolds. So I don't know if they acquired them or what. That was in '99.
That would explain what happened to CarPoint then.
It's only 20. It was only 22 years ago, Jason.
Yeah. Shit. And I was pulling up some of my old articles from 2002 and 3 and 5, and it's still the same shit's happening, man.
Well, you know
it's
what's
the
crazy?
Same conversation, brother. Same conversation.
You know what's crazy? The road to a sale was created by horse traders. It wasn't created by car salespeople.
Yeah.
So just think about that.
Yeah. Well, I think the first electric car in the States was in the 1800s, and they're still figuring that out.
Oh, speaking of that, Joe Pastel sent me something the other day, and it said that 20% of Tesla owners go back to gas cars.
Yes, I was reading something around that.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe it was the same article. I thought it was higher than 20%.
It probably is. It wasn't accounting for people who were still driving their first Tesla right now.
Yeah. Article I read was closer to well, you know what? It wasn't Tesla. It was all electric cars. It was a percentage of people that had purchased an electric car, but then went back to gas. And I thought it was above 50%.
Here we go. So yeah, now they see us. But yeah,
Black you out.
Yeah, so the number one reason for people switching back to gas from electric is the inconvenience of charging the car.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. It got me thinking a little bit. We're going to buy my mother-in-law an electric lawnmower. You know, she's got a tiny yard and she's been using a push mower. And so let's give her something for Mother's Day. Here we go. And
wonderful.
Yeah. Here's a broom.
Yeah. Well, she wanted one. She was about to go buy one herself. We were like, no, don't do that. We'll get it for you. But I was reading the reviews, and you know, they're either like 50-50. You know, people absolutely love it, and I'm assuming these are the people that just pulled it out of the package and didn't actually mow their yard yet. And then the rest of them are people who are complaining about how long the battery goes. And
yeah. So I pulled up this. I have it as a trivia piece on my university. I do. What year was the first successful electric car built in the U.S.? It was 1891 by William Morrison, and it had a range of 50 miles and a top speed of 20 miles an hour. I mean, think about that.
Not bad for back then.
Not bad. Back in I sit there and go, they even have electricity in 1890, you know?
They
but
had
they did.
So they're still with a key on it that flew off the back, and you drove it in thunderstorms.
Yeah. So they're still trying to figure this stuff out, you know?
Back to the lawnmower thing real quick. I've had mine for 3 years. And I've got, it's the, what's the Lowe's brand? Cobalt. And I think I got the 80 volt Yeah, pretty sure that's what it is. It's the 80 volt. But the secret there is getting the higher amp batteries. The higher amp batteries tend to last longer. Yeah. So I think overall I've got like 8 batteries. I won't go into story how I got all 8 batteries, but 8 batteries and 3 chargers.
How many gallons of gas can that
in the backyard?
What's that?
I said you're building a Tesla in the backyard.
Yeah.
But then again, how much those batteries aren't cheap, and if you had to pay for them, I mean, you probably could have had 10 years worth of gas for that kind of money, though.
A lot, yeah, definitely, definitely.
So
I've figured out I figured out sort of a scam on how to get my hands on more batteries.
Yeah.
You buy open box and then you return it.
Oh, jeez.
Without the battery, or it typically comes with 2 batteries, and you just return one. I got 3 of them. I got 3 batteries by doing that with the lawnmower 3 years ago. Plus, if you go to buy something, a lot of times you can buy them without batteries. So you can, like the weed whacker, I just got a trimmer. You can buy it with or without batteries. So it's a lot cheaper to go ahead and buy it with a battery. It's like, the battery itself is probably $80, $90, depending on the amperage. Or you can get it with, like a package, and you end up spending $40 for the same battery. So every time I would, here lately, every time I buy something new, I'll just go ahead and get it with the battery.
So Jeff, but I should remind you, this call is being recorded.
Yeah. I think
We're live.
Someone from Lowe's is going to come arrest me or something. So, but yeah, it's I've had no issues. I enjoy it. It's not bad.
Well, we've gone a good 5 minutes here without introducing Jasen, although I don't think he needs one.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think most people know who Jasen is. Jasen's only been in the business for just a few short years.
Yeah, just trying to learn the ropes. What's an up again?
Actually, I think it'd be interesting to find out how many of us are left that actually used CarPoint.
Oh, yeah.
Comment.
Right there.
Yeah, hold it in the middle, Jasen. There you go.
MSN CarPoint. Yeah. Like I said, that's what was it? 1999? Right there. That was a while ago. You know what? Yeah. I think I got hired out of that thing. I remember they do local workshops, right? And so they'd go around, and I was there talking about all the stuff we're doing on internet. And so the big dealer group was actually Lou Fuse, because I was just working at a Ford store at the time. He called me up and says, "Hey, we didn't meet, but I was at that meeting you're at, and you're talking. You seem like you know what you're doing. We need help down here with the internet." And next thing you know, I get scooped up and end up there.
We need help with the internet.
Yeah, they give you some web control with that, and could you push it into your Cobalt or your Cowboy CRM?
Actually, ABB web control back then.
Yes, that was. I'll make this argument until something better comes along. I still feel like that was the best customer follow-up tool ever.
Oh yeah. Actually, ABB. Oh, sorry. I love that thing. They did a white paper study on what we were doing. I set up, all the automated emails and moving them through buckets, and yeah, that thing, we tore that thing up. Missed it. Simple, easy.
Really, CRM hasn't really changed much since then. So they're sort of, I don't want to say they laid the groundwork, but maybe they did. It's almost as if, most of the other CRMs just sort of copied. I mean, I don't know how crazy you can get with it to begin with, but sort of laid the framework for most of the CRMs that came after that.
Was it Ford Direct had the initial one, I think, is when I first started.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Ford Direct. And then we went to ABB when I went to that dealer group. But you know what I used to do is I used to print every lead I got, and I put it in a binder, and I date it. And I date the last time I talked to them, left message, LMs, and I print, because you never knew if the internet went out or anything like that. I still had my binder. I could go still work my leads, even if we didn't have the CRM.
Did you ever put FU on it?
No.
No, for follow-up?
Follow-up.
Oh, follow-up. Yeah.
Later we'll tell you what an up is. So today,
Jason, where did you get started? You were at a dealership, right? When you broke into the industry, right?
Yeah, 1997 at a Ford store. I answered an ad to make 50 to 80 grand a year, and I was waiting tables. Because actually, what it was, I was waiting tables, and one of the girls there said her fiance whatever got a job selling cars. I'm like, really? I'm like, do you need a degree for that? Because I was in and out of college, I'd never finished it, and she's like, no, he just seen an ad in the paper and he replied to it. So I go look and I go reply and get hired that day, essentially, and threw me to the wolves. So yeah, I sold cars, but then, that was 97. So within a year or two, I mean, this is 99. So actually it was 6 months, we started doing internet part-time because I liked working the phones. I didn't like being out on the point. And so they're like, hey, you'd probably be good at the internet. You like doing the phones. And so 97, 98, I was doing internet leads back then.
Yeah, if you know how to fix a printer, then you were going to be good at the internet, the car dealership.
Yeah. Just so next thing you know, I'm handling leads on the internet, and they think I can fix their computer. Hey, this printer ain't working. I'm like, why are you telling me? Aren't you the internet guy? I'm just taking ups off the internet, So yeah, I mean, I cut my teeth. I made a living for at least 3 years back in 97 to 2000 selling cars off the internet. Probably 4 years. Because like my last 2 years, I was a director then. So then I was managing the departments and not necessarily relying on the sales part. But, so yeah, I mean, that's how I cut my teeth.
I think there's only a few of us left that can still tell that story.
And what's cool about that? And think about that. Because back then, even we knew what Fridays and Saturdays were like. It was hat trick days, there were so many ups. There's more ups than salespeople, and we're handling cards, and we do the balloons and the mailers and the purple gorillas and the, whatever, the traditional. So we remember the traditional sales, right?
Yep.
On top of the internet, and got to grow with that. And then the other benefit I found myself in, and again, if you just reflect, I started with Viato back in 2005. As a matter of fact, and I got a bunch of old crap. It wasn't even Viato then; it was Empower Auto, and so
Empower. That's right,
Empower Auto in 2005. And so I got to be involved with that whole, because the internet obviously transitioned the whole industry, and then Viato has made a huge impact in how inventory was managed. So I got to go through that phase too. So I got to go through that transition of what the internet's done to the industry to what a system like Viato's done to the industry, and just kind of. And be involved in the trenches. I was one of the first people hired there, and watch that grow. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, it has been for you.
Mama don't know money.
That's right.
I miss that.
The comment crew's on point today.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, the internet's a fad. Steve's loved AV.
So then after Viato, then you transitioned to basically with LotPop and working for yourself.
Yeah. So that was 2013. It's been 7 years, almost 8 in August, September range. And one, it was a personal thing. I just felt like I need to be home, better leader at home, church, and things like that I couldn't do while I was traveling 3-4 days a week. I got the title, the money, that everything I thought I wanted. And then, not that my family was falling apart, but my 8-year-old son is now 16 and became a mama's boy. I got a daughter going to middle school. I didn't want her, getting interested in boys because dad wasn't around. And but I also knew there was a need for dealers just to get a little bit more attention than I was able to give them as a vendor. So on the vendor end, plus it allowed me to work from home. And I learned all those processes over the 15 years of what it took to manage the inventory in the dealership and the leads. I consult. I don't share that a lot, but I consult dealers, or we do, with internet process management, because they go hand in hand. But I don't promote that portion of our business because I want them to be an inventory client first. I think you got to get your inventory right, then get the leads, okay, then get your internet process right, and then go and market. A lot of dealers want to market and then focus on leads, and then their inventory is, shitty. So, I think
I agree with you 100%.
So, but yeah, we help dealers with the internet process managers, because, we start managing inventory properly. We start getting a big bulk of leads, and then, they're still suffering because they're not handling leads right. So, we slice and dice the CRMs and that they have and do weekly calls and make sure they stay on point.
Yeah, so your business has grown significantly. It's been fun to watch.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it has. It's good and bad. You know, I got people in place that do, you know, a lot of the work that I'm used to doing. And so that gets harder because now you're trying to find ways to, you know, there's a lot of things. I'm you know, I say I have ADD. I don't know. I haven't been diagnosed with that, but I'm all over the place. And I come up with an idea, and I used to be able to do it myself, right? Because we do Google Sheets and things like that, and I just create the reports. I do the charts, and I could do it myself. But now I got software, we got developers, I got people doing the data. I got, you know, so I got to throw the idea out there and hope they get it done, and sit and wait and twiddle my thumbs until they do. But I'm chomping at the bit, you know. So it's good and bad.
That's exactly right. Twiddling thumbs, waiting for them. Yeah, I see that happening.
Is that what you do, Alex?
I wish. Yeah. I haven't gotten to Jasen's level yet.
No, come on.
So obviously we're here today to talk about inventory.
Yeah.
So we got to get that right before we can jump into some CarPoint and AVV later. So there's definitely a crazy market condition at the moment that I know it's never happened in my career. And I'm sure if my grandfather were still alive, he would echo that statement. So, you know, what are you seeing out there right now? And I can tell you the post you had on Facebook that caught my attention was you mentioned that the best dealers and the worst dealers are having the same turn rate at the moment.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do with and you see it in Facebook posts, you know, all these people high five and say how great they are. Hey Chris, I can get you a LotPop kit if you cycle a lot. But we trend out all of our dealers, and we trend them out on activity in our software. So we know the more engaged they are with our software, our top 10 dealers logging into our system are well outperforming the dealers that don't. And so we're watching those trends. And then, you know, before dealers were outselling the bad dealers, the good dealers were outselling the bad dealers by, you know, 20, 30%. And then all of a sudden those numbers start catching up with each other because the bad story right now, anybody can stumble into some deals right now, and it's been pretty easy. And it's we know I seen this last year at the April, May and June when things, you know, we went in that big shutdown and things opened up, and all of a sudden dealers were having record months and bragging about all the results and all that. Then next thing you know, you didn't see those headlines in September and October anymore, and everybody kind of puckered up and shut up. But And so, you know, you see those trends, and that's the tough part is, and I was on a Clubhouse this morning talking about it. It's like, there's still good numbers out there, but the market's adjusting, and we're going to see it continue to seasonally adjust always right now. So we're seeing those seasonal adjustments. The problem is, like, if dealers gauge how good their inventory is based on maybe market day supply, well, the market day supply in cars have been at the lowest. It's been like in the 40 market day supply when it traditionally would be in the 50s, 60s, or 70s right now, building up to the 80s and 90s as things start slowing down. So we see the slowdown, but it's the day supply is going from 40 to 50. So 50 is still great. So they think just because they came off record months and day supply is still at 50, that this stuff's going to continue. And it may. Economy is going to make some impact, right? The disposable income is gone. The stimulus checks are gone. The tax return money is probably gone. I just shared this morning, Wall Street Journal, 266,000 jobs applied in April, and that was way below the million. They thought there was going to be a million. You know, so it's like, oh shit, here we go, right? And then they talk inflation, like you say. I mean, how many people are going to continue to buy things for too much money if they don't need it? And I did a video a while back about a want and a need economy. We're going to transition from a want, hey, I want this and I got money, I'm going to go buy this, because it's everything from furniture to food to wood. You know, everything's going up. And at some point in time, people are going to tap out and say, you know what, I'll just wait till the prices come back down, and I don't need it, and the extra money's not there anymore. So that's going to happen on cars too. It's just a matter of when.
I guess the difference with cars that might make that linger a little longer could be the chip shortage. So if the supply is really, really low, and it's looking like that could continue through the summer, it is possible we'll see the summer months where, you know, pickup trucks are getting $8,000 over sticker and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Well, again, I think at some point in time, somebody's going to go, you know what, I'll just wait to the new, I don't need a new truck. So I'll just wait until the new ones hit the lots. And, you know, and I think dealers are getting to that point. Dealers are getting there. So the customers will get there soon too. Cause we've seen cars going over a used 2020 with 20,000 miles on it. It's going for more than sticker on a new one. And no one can make sense of it. And what's happened a lot of time, what's going on is rental car companies are gobbling up these cars.
Yeah.
And they don't care if they spend $3,000 over sticker, because they'll make the money up renting the car out at $300 a day, you know, because that's going up too. You guys are pretty savvy. You ever do Google Trends, google.com/trends? I was just playing around with that this morning, and I always type in used cars because that gives me a feel of, you know, how, if search is up, run used cars. But then I typed in rental car and did a comparison, and oh my gosh, rental cars are skyrocketing. And then used cars is actually dropping, and new cars is actually kicking up a little bit. So the only searches that are kind of dropping off on all of them are you know, used cars right now, while new is increasing slightly, but rental cars is way outperforming all of them. And it was a huge spike. Go look at it. It started about January. And I think as people are going to start traveling now, that demand for used car for rentals is going to go, and the manufacturer's not going to give them any cars, not till the dealer body's full. And so, you know, they're going to have to and so they're driving these numbers up, and dealers just can't compete with them.
Wow.
Well, the numbers are probably being drove up as well because everyone's trying to find a deal, and there are no deals on rental cars right now.
No, I waited an hour in Atlanta just to get my car.
Really?
Chris Leslie was just saying that the rental car companies are now buying in the lane.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what I'm saying. They're buying these they're buying at the lane because they're short on cars. Manufacturers not sending them any. So they have to, they got 2-year-old rental cars with 50,000 miles on them now. You never see that, you know?
Yeah, you never see that.
So they're buying cars at the lane, and usually they're the ones running it. Now they're the ones buying them. So, you know, you can't compete with that. And then, of course, the Carvanas and stuff of the world, they just want market share. So and they got a bunch of money, VC money coming in. So they'll just, you know, they expect to lose money. So they'll step up and get what they need to. So then the normal dealers, they better have a good private seller acquisition process, service acquisition process, and a fine-tuned, you know, appraisal process.
Well, that was my next question. Is like, what are the top 3 things dealerships need to be doing in order to acquire, you know, decent used cars?
Well, you know, one of the stats I was looking at, you know, 40 million used cars being sold plus, but only, I think 22 million is done by dealerships, independents, and franchise. So that means 18 million plus are being sold by private sellers, right?
Man, that seems high.
I know. And that's what I was saying. When I can pull up the chart I was looking at, or that reference all that information. I'm like, wow, that kind of surprised me too. I'm like, well, then there's a big data bank of inventory sitting there that if you know how to handle it.
You think the consumers do it just because now they see, you know, it's a great time to sell for yourself and make, you know, a lot of times, you know, the customer knows if they sell it themselves, they'll make $2,000 or $3,000 extra maybe. But of course, they got to go through all the headaches. But now with the way the market is, it's you know, it almost seems where you know, maybe you can make another $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 if you sell it yourself. Just again because of the demand. Yeah,
and the internet obviously makes that easier for people now.
Yeah.
The Craigslist started making it easier for people now. Facebook Marketplace is making it easier for people to do it now. Mm-hmm. You know, people used to be, I remember being afraid when Amazon first came out and and the internet was big to actually buy something online, right? Are they going to send it to me? Are they just going to steal my money? They're going to get my information. And now it's like, it's common. I do it on my phone and, oh yeah, we need that. Buy. Yep. Click. They got my credit card already. Done. And so selling something, same thing online versus having a garage sale or for sale owner on the, on your sign in your dash and putting it out on the street, that's one thing, but now customers are getting more and more used to selling stuff online too. So to sell their car wouldn't be no different than how.
Yeah. What do you find to be the most effective way for dealerships to acquire private cars?
Well, I mean, there's obviously products and tools out there that are reaching out to dealerships. VinQ, there's a company called VinQ, which is a pricing management tool out there that they have a pretty cool tool that, obviously just texting the customer, giving them a 3-point evaluation here. If you want to trade it in, if you want to sell it yourself, or if you want to buy it, here's the numbers, and, allow them to pick and choose. But, there's a whole process behind that. And a lot of times too, it's just your service lane and taking people out of trading up, is the big thing. But, the private sellers and the buyers, it's also patience. One of the things I thought about, man, if I was at a store, I would offer maybe a package to people when they offer to sell their cars. I'll bring it in. I'll try to, now again, half the dealers can't clean their own cars, but offer to maybe clean the cars, photo them, and give them a good retail price to help them price their cars, for them to sell it. We'll do your photos for you. We'll help you come up with a price, and we'll also, detail your car, and we'll help you sell your car. And then I think if you get into one of those and earn some respect, I think the customer eventually, if they ever buy a car, could come back to you. If they're looking to trade or just sell it themselves and buy something, they'll probably refer somebody to you, go, hey, I didn't buy a car from them. They did a great job helping me sell my car. I think, I would be outreaching to try to do that, as much as I can.
Well,
I remember years ago,
say, hey, if you don't have any luck selling it privately, here's the number we'll give it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, yeah, if you don't, we'll follow up with you in a week or two, see how things are going, let you know if you need to adjust your pricing. And then again, eventually, if you feel like you want to give up, we'll give you a number on your car at that point in time. Yeah.
I remember years ago, there was a couple dealers or groups out there trying to do some type of service around consignment. Seeing dealerships dabbling into that. I mean, this seems like it'd be the perfect storm if you want to get into that.
Well, in some states, like here in Kansas City, it's illegal.
True.
So that's the hard part. You got to have to be able to do it in your particular state or find ways around it. But yeah, that's again why I would say, well, just offer to help them, do the pictures for them, get clean, help them maybe clean up the car, do the pictures, give them an offer right then and there if they want to buy it. You got their information now that you can follow up with them, and you kind of consign them in a way. Well, not really, but
you could manually enter them into your third-party listing admin, and then just charge them a finder's fee or something.
We used to, when I was selling any of my cars privately, when I was working at the dealership, I'd do a deal with the buyer if they needed financing, where they could pay a processing fee, and then I would sell the car to the dealership. The dealership would mark it up by the processing fee and then take a shot in the box.
Yeah,
and that was a nice win-win-win.
Yeah, again, you can offer that if you, hey, come on in. We'll do your photos. We'll help you come up with a price. And then if you need somebody to help you with the paperwork, come on back and, we'll do all that for you and promote that. Right now, everybody's promoting, we'll buy your car, right? I mean, everybody has that message. So you might want to try something different, Hey, we'll help you sell your car. And then you get a shot to try to give them the bid.
I like that. That could work.
So
plenty of business.
Pull out the crystal ball and go way farther into the future.
Well,
what's going on?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. I still think here would be my guess, and I don't think it might not happen this quick, 60, 90 days. I think the economy, we're going to have a gut check by something. Again, these prices are inflating way too much, way too quickly. Unemployment, there's a lot. Have you guys gone out to eat and everything or done? Okay. Have you been in these restaurants where the service is kind of crappy because you're short staff?
Yep.
Right.
Well, no one wants to work because they can make more money staying at home, or at least close to it.
Yep.
I started thinking, you know what I just thought of this morning? I wonder if this is the government's way to actually force, without forcing, minimum wage to go up.
Universal. Well, that or universal.
Because they want $15 an hour a minimum wage, right? Well, now you almost forced to have to pay $15 just to get them off their couch because they can make more money at home if not. So it's almost a way to. Anyways, that's a conspiracy theory.
I was reading an article. There was I forget what kind of retail. No, it was a McDonald's. They were paying $50 for you to show up for an interview. And they still can't get people to show up.
And so, and then there's help wanted signs everywhere I go. Right. So, that money, it could have been a joke, but I saw on Facebook, somebody said one of these states like shut off unemployment or something like that. And that way it's forcing people back into work. But I don't know if that was true or not. But I mean, until
Florida put something out around that.
Yeah. I mean, until something like that happens.
Vermont now forces you once a week, you have to have 3 applications.
It doesn't mean you
at least.
But there's not hard. Doing buddy things, but
just show up to the interview drunk and all that and don't get the job. I don't want to hire me. But as long banks, stop loaning anybody money, all that. So this is going to happen. I mean, just like you said earlier before, grocery costs are going up.
We should probably revisit that, Jason. I don't think anyone heard it. That was before we were live. So, we were talking about inflation and before the show, and obviously gas prices have gone up, but that could be attributed to, the failed pipeline deal and things like that. And obviously cars with chips, and then the construction materials have gone through the roof. But some of that can be attributable back to tariffs and other things of that nature. However, the one thing that caught my attention was an April 15th Bank of America earnings call, and I know Jeff alluded to it in a post on DealerRefresh this week, earlier this week. And the earnings call was talking about how many times public company CEOs in their own earnings calls were mentioning how inflation was hurting their business and causing them to make changes. And Bank of America said it was an 800 times increase in Q1. So 800 times more than normal inflationary costs were going up and being mentioned as problems for businesses was the real point. So they started to throw around the term that we're in a transitory inflation period and leading towards a hyperinflation period. And it's starting to cause some issues in the market. I believe the Big Short guy was predicting this back in November or something, and then he got off of Twitter for some reason. And then some of the big hedge fund people are talking about it much more widely now. In fact, Warren Buffett was talking about it in their last earnings call. And but nobody knows where it's going. What if there's something that could change it, because they're also like, are more people going to hit the market again because they've got this pinned up cash, or is it, people are going to go back to work and
It might take till after school starts again before it hits, because I think people are going to go on vacations. It's going to open up the economy. More money's going to flow in, but and that's where I go with cars. Right now I think that big boom in car sales, at least on used, whoever wanted to buy bought or will continue to buy. And all I'm saying is if inventory levels drop 30%, well, shopper counts and activity might drop 30%. It's just going to be an even playing field. It's not, we better start bailing. I'm just saying it's just going to stabilize costs in the market a little bit. But I think, if they if they're going to buy a car they've already bought, and then comes summertime when the kids are out of school, I think vacations and things like that are going to come up as importance. Right now we're redoing our floors in our house, and we're doing a couple of house things. So that's where my money's going to go. And I think a lot of people, are probably in that transition too, because that's where that spring spike in car sales and stuff happens. Not only is the tax return and stuff, but people buying cars because they're going on a road trip, they're going to go on vacation, they're going to buy a camper, so they got to upgrade the truck. And so they're doing things like that. And then once that happens, it kind of softens up a bit. Then once kids go back to school, will that momentum carry on? And inflation, all this extra added costs. And that's where I think everybody starts getting squeezed, and they start cutting back. But these employment headlines don't help. I'm wondering, I didn't check, but what has that done to the stock market today? Has that dropped at all? With that
today?
Actually, we had a nice little spike today.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've got the shortest comment.
I'm not sure what caused
Dan
it.
Sayer trying to digest that one. You dropped that kind
everything
of comment,
went up today.
Dan, and then you bolt. What the hell? Well, maybe I'll take a time out and read this thing.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to read that.
All right. Well, I'm definitely giving Dan some shit later.
I didn't catch it.
So anyway, if we're talking about probably a continued market like we have now through the summer.
Oh, by the way, by the time school and all that picks up, they're projecting, I heard somebody today by July, like the Honda and Porsche and stuff like that. Well, or I think it was Porsche and maybe it was Honda too, about 97% of inventory by July will be back in swing. Obviously the Fords and the GMs of the world, it, might take till November or December. I've heard of that kind of getting back to somewhat of a normal level. So basically what I'm saying, by that fall, the third and fourth quarter is probably when we'll really see what this is going to look like. I think we'll be fine for the next 60 days as people start going on vacations and doing stuff. But yeah, I think after that happens, are they going to keep pushing money out and spending it like stupid? Because I was with the construction guy last night when I was playing softball. But anyways, I mean, the cost of wood and everything right now, if I wanted a deck, and if I got a quote, maybe last year, if I got a quote and it was $5-6 grand to do a deck, and then I'm like, you know what, let's get that deck done, babe. And we call and it's 10 grand now. I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Let's just wait till next spring and see if it comes back. I don't need it right now. I just want it. And that's that transition from that want to need economy. People are going to do the same thing. They're going to go, oh, I'm going to pay over sticker for this used car. They're not going to do it if they don't need it. They'll just wait for the new one to hit in November or something. And so, it's just going to be funny how that all works out.
Do you teach your dealerships how to deal? Is there a different way to deal with the want buyer versus the need buyer with a used car whenever you're in this type of predicament?
Well, no, there's not so much on the training on that. It's just we train them more on the inventory management of itself, staying lean and clean through whatever market. I'm not. And some dealers have got very successful and a ton of money by overbuying when everybody was scared, right? And they overbought and so I'm not saying that there hasn't been dealers that went out and maybe carried 100 cars, now went and grabbed 200 cars because they anticipated this, and they're holding their cars out for 90 and 100 days, and they're going to make $4 grand on it down the road. I still of the mindset they're not triggering holding costs, and when you actually weigh that all in, how much did you actually gain? So, anyways, we're on the mindset of just carry to your 2-week sale rate. Carry to your 2-week sale rate. If sales are going up in the last 2 weeks, then you stock some more. If it starts slowing down, start slowing down. And so, if we transition into a need market, that means things are going to slow down. It becomes a buyer's market eventually, and you don't want to be caught holding that bag. So just adjust as your 2-week sale rate adjust, and don't worry about it. I've said it. People said it too. I've said it. It's like, because I'm afraid right now it's like the toilet paper debacle. Everybody just bought toilet paper because everybody else was buying toilet paper, and everybody just calmed down about toilet paper. There would have been plenty. And then you go to the store, and I have a picture of the rack empty at Walmart for toilet paper roll. And if I found one little bag there of the single ply shitty toilet paper, I grabbed it and bought it just because I was scared, right? And so I think a little of that's happening right now with inventory. I think, as guys are getting scared and they're just grabbing what they can. And that goes into a whole other conversation. Customers are also buying what they can. So I think stocking in the next 60, 90 days is going to be tricky too, because you really can't look at historical data and even market data. Because could I go buy that car again and sell it in 15 days and make $3,000? Probably not, because that Kia Rio was the third choice of somebody because the other two cars got sold, right? The only reason why I got the Kia Rio is because I couldn't get the Escape that I wanted. And so that was the only thing at the lane. And so and then you look at, say 60 days from now, market day supply and a Kia Rio is 30 days. And you're like, ooh, I need to buy some. But it's like, well, no, not really. Everything's sold fast. So it's going to be a tricky stocking strategy going forward too, because of that.
There's the last question here from Rick. I like to take a stab at trying to answer it for him. So you guys think the shortage was intentional to push vehicle prices up? And my answer is no. I think that what happened was there's all kinds of technologies now that are vying for chips. And that includes televisions, not just computers and smartphones and drones that you love, Rick. Everything's looking for chips. And when COVID hit and the car manufacturers switched over to trying to provide ventilators and things like that to help in that effort,
they canceled.
The Apples of the world and the Samsungs and all, they kept buying the chips. In fact, a crazy number here that really puts it in perspective for me is the combined buying power of Audi, Toyota, Ford, everybody who's buying chips globally is about $34 billion. So they're buying $34 billion of chips per year to build cars with. Apple buys $55 billion worth of chips by themselves. So if you're a chip manufacturer, who are you going to service first?
Didn't these dealers that are manufacturers struggling actually cut off their the order, said, hey, cancel our order. We don't need the chips. And so that's that whatever month or 2 month window is what set them behind right now. And that now that the chip guy's going, well, hold on, you're in line here. I got all these other ones I'm doing, and I'll try to squeeze you in. You shouldn't have canceled your order, basically.
Yeah,
right?
Should have never canceled.
Yeah, on top of that, there's a finite supply of the materials that go into these things too. So, there's only so many mines that you can get this stuff from.
There's only 3 chip factories in the country, or 2, one in the country. The other 2, I think, are in Asia. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Intel's one of them, and Intel's trying to build a new facility. I was watching a video, it was like a 2020 video interviewing the Intel guy, because it costs $10 billion to build a new facility, and who knows how long it takes to get it up and going. But Intel's like 3 years behind the Asian company, and when it comes to technology too, so they can't even. They're trying to keep up with them.
Well, I got stock in Kinross Gold, which is a mining company. So hopefully, if it keeps climbing the way it's been climbing, I'll be all right.
It's just retirement plan.
Yeah. From that money he saved from the batteries from his mower.
Yes. You got it.
Yeah. So
I was reading. Go ahead, Alex.
No, go ahead, Jeff. I was
trying
to get us back on topic, but
yeah, well, I'm going to sort of
let's take it back.
Sort of take us off, but not really. I was reading one of your posts. You were talking about why internet closing ratio right now really doesn't matter, especially if you've got all the right cars. I found that because I sort of focus on that as well. Why does it matter? You get the right cars, you're going to get a huge influx of leads. So there's going to be times where maybe, don't place as much importance on that number as you typically do.
Yeah. And I think I might've talked about it last time I was on here. What I was finding was, as we got dealers better with inventory management, they got more leads on cars, like you said, and their closing percentage dropped off, and it threw me off. I'm like, why would I think we'd close more deals? Well, what was happening, instead of getting 1 or 2 leads on a car, you're getting 4 or 5.
5 or 6,
and then that car sells. Now you got 4 leads sitting there that you don't have a car to sell to. So that really kind of threw off the closing percentage. You didn't have as many active leads on cars that were still in stock. You had a lot of active leads on cars that were sold. So I'm like, shit, well, that's not a good gauge. But the other thing that we started really looking into, and CRMs, you guys tell me if you've seen otherwise, CRMs doesn't do not do a good job in combining the inventory with the lead management and closing percentage. And what I mean by that is, can you go into your CRM and say, how many new car leads did I have? And I'm a Ford store. So how many of those new leads that I got were on Fords? And that blew my mind one time. We're looking at a dealership and only 40% of his new car leads were actually on Fords. And we start digging into it, and the contact us were coming in as new car leads because they had to come in as something. Right. Yeah. They're coming in as new car leads, credit apps. They were a KBB buying center. So somebody committed they wanted a trade-in valuation or cash offer, and they want to buy a brand new Honda. Well, I'm a Ford store. Then as a new car lead because they want a new car, but it's a Honda. Okay. So then once we slice that chunk out and say, okay, now here's the 40% that are actually Fords. What percentage of those actually came with stock numbers? Because what would you guess? Leads with stock numbers close at what? Probably a higher percentage than ones without, right?
Yeah, traditionally. Yep.
I mean, well, think about it. You get somebody goes to Ford Direct or whatever and starts building out a black on black Lariat with leather seats and a 3.7 rear and and then they submit it to 5 dealerships, right? Well, you have to have it in stock or call the guy, well, I can locate it, and everybody else is telling them the same thing. So closing percentage on, and that's the thing we started tracking them, the closing percentage on the new car leads with stock numbers were way higher than without. So then you go, okay, so if I can increase the amount of leads I have with stock numbers, I'll increase my closing percentage. Well, a lot of times it wasn't. And so what happens is my new car lead closing percentage drops. I went and yelled at my internet guys going, what are you guys doing? You're not setting enough appointments. I'm blaming them or blaming the provider. Well, in reality, the percentage of my new car leads with stock numbers might went from 50% down to 30%. Now my closing percentage drops off because I have less cars with stock numbers. So then you go, okay, well, why did that happen? Well, it could have been your F-150s. And then you break it down by model, go, okay, my F-150s went from a 60% with stock numbers down to 20% with stock numbers. Then it could have been maybe my pricing went up. It could have been maybe I sold all my blacks and silvers and all I got left are reds and browns, and they're not priced appropriately for reds and browns, right? So again, once you start looking at the inventory and how it affects your closing percentage and lead management, you go, well, closing percentage doesn't mean nothing. My guys did a great job. I just either my pricing or I got the wrong cars. I got XLTs and not enough Lariats, and those are the ones that were driving the leads. And CRMs don't do a good job at combining that information. That's the stuff we start digging through because we help dealers with inventory management. Yeah, and then we go with the internet.
I just want to point out real quick that was pure fucking gold.
Yeah. I got the charts that can show you it too. It's crazy. It's like, freak. Oh my God. Because I ran internet departments and I sold off the internet for 8 freaking years. And I did that. And until I started combining the inventory with the leads and what's going on, I went, holy shit, closing percentage doesn't mean nothing anymore. It's a whole totally bad metric to be measuring. Well, at least gauging, I wouldn't gauge my performance out of my internet department based on that, or my provider. Because again, it's not the provider fault. Maybe I got the wrong inventory and the wrong price. Right. And then if everything's lined up and I go through my process effectively, then it could be a person, right? Maybe they're not talking on the phone correctly or email communication. But you can't just blame your process and your people until you back all that stuff up. It's a trickle. It starts at the inventory. 100%.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And I was like, man, I wish I could build out a CRM that does all that stuff. But
oh God, I got my own grace CRM, but you just added a whole new level of them to the pile.
Oh, I know. It gets deep, and like I said, that's where I get ADD. I'm all over the place. Like I start seeing these trends. I'm like, oh my God, I bet this is happening. Let's do this, and I gotta wait for them to come up with the stuff. Twiddle my thumbs.
Are there any inventory management programs that allow you to CC your leads into where it would maybe break that down more?
No, but you can get API feeds and stuff from VIN Solutions and stuff, or grab all your leads on an Excel sheet and dump it in. And that's what we're doing, looking at Google Sheets and stuff. Oh,
really?
Yeah. My biggest thing, and when it comes to internet management right now, is we do activities per lead. That was the one that was another pivot, that I used to look at closing percentage and calls and appointments and how many appointments show and everything is that big indicator. But the common one I found now was activities per lead. And that's, we've always been taught, you want to sell more cars, talk to more people. So how many calls, how many emails are we doing by active leads? And, the guys that are doing the double digits, 10s, 11s, 12s, are doing average or a little above average. The guys doing 20 plus are doing those bigger type numbers. And so if I can drive that, and I can then separate it by people. I can see who's not doing their fair share. I break it down between calls and emails. I could see maybe their activities per lead is high, but they're just shoving a bunch of emails out. Then you look at email reply rates, and then you can say, again, if it's in the double digits, we're doing good. Or if they went from a 12% reply rate and their emails they're sending down to a 5% in the last week, I gotta go see what they're sending out. They might be saying, hey, the car's sold, sorry, or yeah, it's here. When can you be here? Type email. So again, we start pulling that CRM data and just start slicing it and dicing a bunch of different ways. And activities per lead was that indicator. If my inventory is going right, are we doing what we need to over here? And even if we
it's
are,
funny. Go ahead. No, I was just saying we had the exact same conversation last week with Steve Stoning because we had him on the show, and he was talking about how that's his favorite report is looking at the activities per lead. And there's, I don't know if every CRM has that report, but because I use eLead here, and that's probably the most important report that I use.
Yeah. And it was easy. What opened my eyes a lot, and like Vin Solutions was one I was easy because you go into each person, you can see how many inbound emails and outbound emails they're doing, how many outbound calls they're doing, and then how many leads. So if somebody had 100 leads, and their only outbound emails and you can see email replies. So if they got 30 replies and they got 50 new leads, well, that's 80 new emails that should be going out, right? I should at least reply to every reply and reply to and send an email to every, and I'd see, okay, you got 80, you should have at least done 80 emails, but you only did 70. You didn't even do enough to keep up with what you had, much less any additional stuff, Hey, thanks for your time on the phone today type emails. They didn't even cover the bases. So once you start digging in that, you start seeing that everywhere. And you're like, oh my gosh, man. No wonder we can't close any deals. But no, yeah, like I said, you just pop them out or get an API feed from these providers. A lot of the CRMs are open to provide that information. Obviously, protect the customer stuff, but.
Well, this just helps the CRM companies. So they obviously want to make their product look better.
Yeah. Yeah. And we started breaking down, like going back to new cars, we're breaking down every model, how many leads came with stock numbers, and then the closing percentage. And again, and then you track that, not just snapshot it, but then trend it out. Cause then you could see, okay, if this is off Y, then here's the cars, and then why that car, is it color, equipment, pricing that we have left in stock, and so forth. And like I said, they should be doing that stuff in these CRMs because that's what you were there to do. We're there to sell cars, but all they worry about is calls, emails, and appointments. It's like, okay, the cars are the whole driving force of all those numbers.
Yep.
Welcome to our world.
Yep. So even some of the best of the best, eLeads is great. Vin Solutions is great. I've yet to find any kind of reports like that in there.
No,
not to break us down like that.
They're all built on data systems that were they're 20 years old now. Nobody was thinking that way back then. Shoot, few people are thinking that way right now. So, yeah.
Well, and that's the hard part about
considering the cars or leads with stock numbers in them as a driving force in measurements. And now my head's spinning with all sorts of things that. Like I said, that's pure gold.
Yeah, if you guys want to see the numbers, I'll show you this stuff. It's amazing. And I did a whole PowerPoint on it. Matter of fact, I shared the PowerPoint. Maybe that's what you're referencing to. You can see the trends in there. But it's but again, that's the hard part about with dealerships is we put all these departments on islands. The internet department's on an island, the inventory management on an island, the parts department, the service department, they're all on their own little island. And when you start putting them together, it's like, that's when you start exposing these problems that, again, especially internet and process and inventory, when you start pushing those two together, and of course they should go together, but no one talks about it or it's exposed.
Well, there's your next venture, Jason.
I know it. Let's go. You guys can join.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right, Alex, I see smoke coming out of your ears.
Yeah. There's definitely some ideas rolling around in there. Yep. So, yeah. Sorry. I was just like, let's end this and go hit a whiteboard right now.
I know. I was hoping I had a whiteboard back here so I could draw some of that stuff out and the numbers, but no, it's.
You mentioned a PowerPoint. Where would someone find the PowerPoint that you put together?
I did it on Facebook. I'd have to go back, and it's probably 2 weeks ago or so that I shared it, about a week or two ago, in the last week or two. Because one of the things, now I talked to my guy that does the internet. He said, closing percentage was up on some of these stores, but one of the things I was anticipating was a lot of dealerships, because cars are selling so fast and they get a lot of leads on them, that their closing percentage is probably off, and they're probably frustrated, going, "What the hell, or what's going on? We could be selling even more if we could, you guys get on the phone." But in reality, there's a dealership that we're tracking. Again, 40% of his active leads were on cars that sold. So when you wipe out, you can maybe sell them something else, but on new cars, that's a little bit easier. So I was talking on used. Used active leads are on cars already sold. And, unless you have something identical or something that is comparable, it's a tough sell. And a lot of times the internet person doesn't want to follow up with that person. And that's the other things we're catching, right?
No, they're not.
Yeah. No, that car's sold. And if they got 50 things to do today and they're worried about, I got to get through their phone calls so they can get back on the point, and, they're just going to, skip that lead. It's that car sold. That one's gone. But they keep them active. But you need to put them down a different funnel. Hey, that car's sold. Now what? We have these similars, and then put them down a different funnel where you're maybe following up once a week and not part of the everyday and just blowing them off type of stuff.
Well, that harkens back to the beginning of our conversation. You need some web control for that. You can't do that with a regular CRM.
ABB. Be able to handle those processes.
Once a week I go through all those leads, because we have it set up where the salespeople put them under management review, so that I can go through and we'll manage it from there.
If it's sold,
it's here lately even more than before. It's tons of leads coming in on cars that have been sold.
Yeah. And you throw off your whole month when you have that $5,000 truck, that's a 1998 with 80,000 miles on it. You get 200 leads on the damn thing.
Leads.
It throws your whole closing percentage off.
Those
are the things that you got to watch out for. And like I said, that's exactly what's happening. And then the other stuff, what I like, going back to inventory management, and it, dealers can maybe understand this because they now have experienced it. One of the things that we've pushed here at LotPop is, we want you to carry what you sell what you carry. 100, sell 100, carry 100, sell 100. But we'll have dealers sell 150, carrying 100, because a lot of dealers feel like they have to have 100 to sell 75. And then get gross with it. And the way they get gross with it is we have them focus on the first 30. The more you can sell in the first 30 days while it's fresh, while you have the biggest gross potential. If you're going to increase that, you're going to increase your gross. So we even do like these little wristbands, first 30 as a reminder. So my point being is, especially last year, this time, the volume was there. I mean, there's a hugest spike in sales versus what was available. So dealers actually experienced, they sold 150 carrying 100. Like, wow, we've never, had that before. Now, this cycle, cars are moving so much faster. Instead of dealers taking 30, 40 average days to sell, they're selling them in 19 and 20. So it's proving the point to them now too, because everybody's complaining, I can't buy cars, they're too much money. And but yet they've had record months in gross. Well, how's that happening? Well, because you're selling them at the peak, you're selling them within 19 days instead of letting them sit in an average day of 40. So the first 30 strategy rolls in now. So you can have volume and gross, and it's just a balance of keeping that balance and consistency once this market does adjust. Once it gets back to a normal market, can you still sell 150 with 100 and get 60, 70% in the first 30 days? And that's the part that takes discipline. And like I said, that's where I bang my head against the wall, like you guys were talking about earlier. Everybody's a champ and how great their team is and I'm awesome and pounding their chest. Let's see in 2 months if the market shifts and see where you're at, and that's the difference between the good operators and the knots. They don't get tied up in the now.
Yeah,
a lot of dealers are looking back and looking at the now. Again, we train our team here, our staff, and we train our dealers to be the chess player. Look at move 5 before we do move 1. Let's stay ahead of everything else that's going out on there. But as far as dealers go, let's not be looking at what's going on at May. Let's figure out how to position our inventory for June, because what do we think is going to happen in the next couple of weeks? Do I need to keep buying if my current sale rate's down? Just position, because what happens right now is a lot of dealers, if they start off with a slow May at the beginning, they're going to try to ramp it up, and they might do that by buying more cars, and maybe their sales are down, they don't have enough inventory. In reality, the market might be slowing down, and that could crush them come June, if this is continuing to pattern. So, not just looking at current and past sales. And that's the bad thing about some of the inventory management tools. A lot of them are looking 30, 45 day metrics to keep you going. Well, 45 days, if things slow down, and which typically does in May and June. And what we've seen so far at the beginning of April, it's following that pattern. So I'm saying May and June is probably going to be a tougher month than it's been in March and April. So be ready and prepare yourself. But the inventory tools, if they're looking 45 days ago, they're going to say, hey, things are still looking good. Keep buying, keep moving. And that's where dealers get caught holding the bag, June and July.
Definitely great advice. Hey, if someone
inventory tools, it's that this market's never happened before, so they weren't coded for this kind of situation.
Yeah.
So you can't get upset with them, but you do need to be aware that they're not made for what we're living in right now.
Yeah.
No, but they could sign up with LotPop and get that information.
Well, again, what we
sign up with LotPop, how would they go about doing that?
So that's the thing. We're not a pricing tool. There's already those out there. What we're doing is we're a complement to those tools. I don't care if you're in the Auto, VinQ, LotLinks, Max Digital. We look at, hence the name LotPop, your lot. We will look at what's going on internally. Like, if every dealer understands doing a lot walk, they're going to go outside, fill holes, move cars around, get things straightened up, and make it sure, but is there really a lot walk for your virtual inventory, how they're positioned, how they're priced, and there's not. So we have that. We're basically saying, okay, here's a hole. Maybe your average investment's gone up, or your pricing's gone up, or maybe you're not selling enough out of a certain age bucket. We'll find that problem, find the cars causing that problem within that. Maybe your average investment's up, and that's slowing things down. Okay, well, what cars do I own high? Okay, well, here's the cars you own high. And of those ones you own high, these are the ones that aren't performing well. So take that car, go put it in your inventory management tool and see what the market says. Look at your info first, and then shift to the market. And especially during a seller's market, which it is, and it will be for a while, your data is more important and your information more important than the guy next to you. You ever seen the old Michael Phelps, swimming with the guy next to him staring at him, like, right? You got to focus on winning. Don't worry about that guy next door, because it doesn't matter in a seller's market. When you've got the only F350 in a 500-mile radius, do you care what the guy at 501 mile is away from? You don't care what day supply is. You don't care. You're like, I'm going to sell this car for this money, and I know that demand's there. So how that car is going to perform regardless of market data when it's a seller's market, right? Now, when it's a buyer's market, and the customer has choices, there's more cars than there are buyers, they have a choice, and they can leave, and they can get, now I got to worry about, okay, I'm not making any deals. Why? Well, they're finding better deals somewhere else. So I'm going to have to adjust to those other deals. And that's when it's a buyer's market, you're going to have that information is important, trying to figure out what your competitor's doing and staying ahead of them to get those deals. But when it's a seller's market, your data is going to be more important. Look at your lot, find the holes, and then use the market data second. Pivot to the market data as the backup. Because again, there is that natural delay. The only way you can see what's going on in the market is looking at the past. You can't see what's going on in the future, right? Or predict what's happening in the future. And looking back,
well, it's great advice.
We done that with COVID. I mean, imagine last year, and I say, we got to look 45 days ago to make our decisions right now. You'd be like, are you kidding me? We're shut down. I wasn't shut down in my basement 45 days ago. This is a whole different world. And then May and June came, and all of a sudden we can't look back at April when we're shut down, because now we're selling cars and people are, showing back up again. So it's 45 days in this world you just can't do it.
No. Moving too quick.
Yeah.
What was Rick's question?
Rick
Carvana,
was asking
what they're
about
doing in the
Carvana.
market.
What are they doing in the market other than Yeah. So
somebody mentioned, was this on or earlier? Somebody said, is this on purpose to drive up prices? Right, and the chip shortage, that got us into that conversation. But I've also heard people saying, is this on purpose to squeeze out these companies like Carvana's and stuff? That, you know, because all they could do is buy cars. They don't. I mean, I guess they do purchase a lot, but you know, they're not going away. I do think it really, between COVID and their business model, really put a sense of urgency under dealerships for digital marketing or digital retail. And that was needed, right? But Jeff, just like we were talking, and Alex, what we're talking about, you know, earlier when I was mentioning the fact my articles that I wrote about internet process in 2002 and 2005, we're still talking about the same problems today. So will it take 15 years for that digital retailing model to really kind of be commonplace, like the internet department is kind of now, you know, or whatever you want to call it, internet? And a lot of guys don't like calling it internet department, but anyways, I think Carvana's, they're not going to go away. You're going to have to, I always tell dealers, step up or step out, or do both. You're either going to have to step up and compete with those guys, digital retailing and offer to buy cars and 7-day return policies, or you're going to have to find other ways to step out away from them. I can bring that up because we have a vending machine here in Kansas City. You know, we've got a CarMax, we've got a Carvana. You know, these independent dealers are still successful, but they got to find ways to either step up or step out or stand out against these guys. I don't like it. I don't like. No,
there's nothing that they can't do that Carvana does. So
no,
just step up.
Yep. And learn how to do that. And matter of fact, I'm going to do a little plug here. I got CBT News doing a weekly interview, our weekly show on CBT News. I'm going to have Joe Chur from Dealer Inspire, and we'll probably, you know, visit digital retailing, because that's, again, kind of that new fad, and they do a real good job with their stuff there. But that'll be.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what you're doing with CBT. Was it a weekly show?
Yeah, they asked if I want to do weekly or monthly. I said, you know, this market's going to move so fast. You know, we're going to have to talk. Yeah. There's enough to talk about each week. I'm going to kind of reserve that show for interviews, both with dealers. I just did Matt Lasco interview. He's a really great operator. I've done business with him for 6 years. I know he's top-down management, done more with less type of stuff, and it's a good interview. So I'm going to reserve it for actual dealership employees and or vendors that are, you know, making an impact. That, you know, no pitch, obviously, you know, that platform's designed not to pitch anything. So I'm going to reserve that for
live or record it.
It's recorded, but it's usually within that week. Like I'll record Joe on Monday and we'll post it on Thursday. So they'll just need a few days of editing. So it'll be, you know, I do have some tips that I'll pre-record at the studio there, and as backups, you know, if I'm on vacation and stuff. But those are kind of time tested. Those aren't necessarily, doesn't matter when I plug those out, but pretty much going to be within that week. So now we're live, we're recording it. I guess they'll edit if we mess up, but none of those episodes we've had to do any of those with.
So if they want to catch you, the CBT weekly, of course, LotPop. Anything else that other than Facebook and all that good stuff? Yeah, that's the thing. My Facebook, I typically, and my YouTube, I say YouTube channel, you know, LotPop Inc. is on there, because there's 200, probably close to 300 videos now over the last 4 or 5 years, tips, interviews with small town dealers, luxury dealers, turnaround. But I try to do about a 10-minute tip every week. And so I do that on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and I'll throw those up on SoundCloud to go for iTunes for podcasts and stuff. So you can find a lot of those through podcasts. Cool. So again, I just over the years. I'll put together a post over in the forums, and I'll get all those links and link out to them so everyone has quick, easy access. Ed Brooks, yeah, the difference. That's the other thing. Ed Brooks brings us a good point. The only thing traditional dealers can do differently better than Carvana is actually provide service after the sale. That's a big difference. But it's the team too. I mean, this drives me freaking nuts. It's your team and your people. You don't know how many you guys can. You go to a dealership's website, random dealership, and go to the staff page. They're horrible.
right? But your people is what makes you stand out against these things. You know, people, they always say people like to do business with people. I do. I was just on we're going to do some booths at some conferences coming up. I got a bid from somebody remotely, but then I just found out there's a company here local and that does this stuff. And I'm going to talk to them and probably might do business because they're local. I'd rather be able to have lunch with them or have a lunch break and shoot over to his office and collaborate on a design for the booth than have somebody remotely. Yeah. So anyways, it's the people and part of that process that makes a difference. Please do a staff page. A lot of people say, well, there's turnover or too much turnover. That's one thing. I said, well, maybe because you're not investing in your people by showing them you like them and putting them on your page, you know? And then two, or they're going to poach my mechanics. The other dealer, I'm afraid they're going to poach my mechanics and stuff. You're like, well, if that's what you're afraid of, you got bigger problems than that, you know?
Yeah, outside.
Staff page, huge. Yeah, Chris, Strava too. He said to follow me on Strava. I do cycling, and so Chris is doing cycling there. I need to do more of it, and I will. So yeah, I mean, the staff page is critical, and so I kind of back it up. I make sure whatever we talk about, we back it up. So if you go to my staff page at LotPop, you know, I've got bios and I got videos with my team, you know, and 5-6 minute videos. Tell us your background, where you came from, and you know, I think if you invest in your team like that at the dealership, they'll like working for you. You know, you promote it, gives them something to share and put out there, you know. So
find a way to maybe find some type of a script or something where you can actually rotate that in and out on the VDP as well.
Yeah. And that's a whole other business
have your separate page, but have it integrated into the VDP.
You can create a vendor company that go travel to dealerships and do that for them. All right, spend the afternoon in video record for everybody and put them up there for them. You know,
there you go, $2.99 a month widget.
Yeah,
Drew Ament would approve, I'm sure.
Yeah, he would. All right, Jason, it's always a pleasure, man.
No, it is. I appreciate you guys bringing me on. And let me know if you want to see any of those stats or, like I said, I'll probably at the end of this, I'll comment and put that link to that YouTube video that I did about the closing percentage, why closing percentage doesn't matter and stuff in the comments.
Yeah, do that, and I'll flip it over into the form so we've got it over there and easy to find.
All right, cool.
All right, gentlemen, make it a great weekend.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jason.
Talk to you later.